Undoubtedly, Storage Wars is one of the most popular reality TV competition series of the last decade. Since its premiere in 2010 on A&E, the show has achieved unbeatable success, not only in the US, but around the world, allowing its cast members to attain fame and recognition along the way. Given how hugely popular and well-loved Storage Wars is, unsurprisingly, a lot of people were happy to see the show making its long-awaited return to the small screen in 2021, following a prolonged hiatus of 2 years. However, not everything is good news, and while it was great to see some of our favorite bidders make their comeback, the popular but also drama-prone Jarrod Schulz didn't last long before becoming involved in some serious legal issues. So what did Jarrod Schulz really do? Are the rumors about him true? Stay with us to know it all. Any good fan of Storage Wars surely knows that Jarrod Schulz and his longtime partner Brandy Passante split after the show wrapped up its 12th season in 2019. Nonetheless, while details about the separation remained secret for some time, things took an ugly turn for the now former couple, when in mid-2021, Jarrod was charged with misdemeanor domestic violence battery against Passante. According to TMZ, the incident happened on 30th of April that year, when Jarrod went looking for Passante while she hung out in an Orange County bar with some friends. A loud argument soon ensued between them, taking a turn for the worse when, according to reports, Jarrod apparently refused to leave the place, pushed his former wife twice, and yelled at her friends. By the time police arrived, Jarrod was nowhere in sight and denied the accusations when interviewed a couple of days after the incident. In May, he was charged with one account of misdemeanor, and 2 months later he was in court for the trial. But as his lawyer Benjamin Arsenian told TMZ, Jarrod wanted the case dismissed and completely denied having any contact with Passante during the incident. It's unknown what other consequences he might have faced for his alleged acts. Jarrod hasn't addressed the issue, and his social media hasn't been very active since the incident. From early 2019, Storage Wars took its longest hiatus from TV since its premiere in 2010. Though many fans lost hope of seeing their favorite show back on air, it was surprising to say the least when a 13th season was announced to premiere in 2021. Despite the good news, the new season saw Jarrod Schulz and Brandy Passante's tense post-split dynamic unfold.
Just be selective.
Oh, I'll be selective. I'm always selective.
No, you're not.
But we have to buy. So you be reasonable.
I got a feeling about this
Be
one.
reasonable.
It's a mystery.
I had a feeling about
There's
you.
a lot of trash in the
You
front,
look like
but this is
trash
a
when we
big
first
unit.
started dating.
Oh, you better watch.
And though that was certainly disheartening for their fans, it was good enough to know that they were on speaking terms. However, given the domestic abuse allegations against Jarrod, which hit the headlines not long afterwards, TMZ reported that A&E was conducting an independent investigation into the case. Later, when the 14th season premiered in late 2021, Jarrod was nowhere to be seen, and no explanation was offered by the network. Even so, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to think Jarrod's absence was due to the charges against him. Whether Jarrod will return to the show in the future is unknown, as the lack of information about his case makes it impossible to determine if the charges against him hold any truth. Being innocent is probably the only way Jarrod could return to TV without facing a backlash. Unbeknownst to many, Jarrod Schulz apparently had his fair share of problems with the law. According to Starcasm, in January 1997, Jarrod was sentenced to 60 days in jail for possession of a controlled substance. Upon his release, Jarrod allegedly continued down the same path as before, and was soon rearrested for drug possession, and this time sentenced to 16 months in prison. His prolonged stay behind bars led Jarrod to change his path in life, apparently prompting him to put his priorities in order and eventually establish his business. That being said, the website also reported that Brandy Passante allegedly had a past mishap with the law, when in 2007, she pleaded guilty to driving under the influence. Though said incident seems to be a once-in-a-lifetime thing, these reports remain unconfirmed by both Jarrod and Brandy. Even if life hasn't been smooth for Jarrod Schulz in the last couple of years, this doesn't seem to apply to his romantic endeavors. Following his split from Brandy Passante in late 2018, Jarrod apparently found love again with a woman from California named Rochelle Beckman. While romantic details about the pair aren't revealed, the first time she referred to her relationship with Jarrod was in late 2019, when she wrote on her then public Instagram account, "It's crazy how much happier life can be when you're appreciated and cared for the way a person should be." That being said, the relationship wasn't official for his followers until he announced he was on a trip to Disneyland with Rochelle, proceeding to share more couple-style pics on his account from then on. Further information about Rochelle's career background is unknown, but her post on Facebook makes us suspect that she works in Jarrod's business, Rush Bar and Grill. It's also known that she's divorced and has 3 sons and now a granddaughter. Even though Jarrod Schulz apparently started his relationship with Rochelle Beckman in late 2019, the majority of Storage Wars fans didn't know he and Brandi had split until the show's 12th season hit the small screen after its hiatus.
I'm not with Jarrod anymore.
Needless to say, the pair's on-screen dynamic was wildly different than viewers remembered. Long gone were their once lighthearted arguments. And they no longer bid together, even if they tried to make it work anyway.
Just because me and Brandi aren't together anymore doesn't mean we can't go to an auction, but separately.
While it's not unusual for breakups to end on a bitter tone, the way Jarrod and Brandi silently handled the situation made the reasons behind the split hard to guess. However, in 2020, Brandi affirmed that she hadn't been allowed to have an identity for a long time.
I was describing it as sort of emotionally dead inside, kind of trying to find my place. Like you said, I wasn't really allowed to have an identity for, many, many years. And so these last couple of years, I'm kind of coming into my own and figuring out who I am.
While Brandi's words aren't telling of what really happened between her and Jarrod, it's clear that their time as a couple reached its natural conclusion. That being said, whatever the reason was for their split, their relationship surely worsened after their altercation in 2021. Even though Jarrod and Brandi's communication isn't at its best nowadays, it doesn't do any harm to remember the times when everything seemed perfect for the couple. They met in 1999 when both worked in a cleaning business. At the time, Brandi was a newbie in the job, while Jarrod's higher position in the company prompted him to guide her at work. That being said, there's no consensus on who fell for the other first. In an interview they gave to the Mystery Men show in 2017, Jarrod is convinced that Brandi was the one interested in him the most.
No, I mean, we worked together. Jarrod followed me around like a puppy dog.
Oh! Stop it.
And
Stop it.
he broke me down.
She pretty much stalked me for like 3 months, and at that stage in my life, I mean, I had pretty low standards, so I pretty...
Apparently, Jarrod was well aware that starting a relationship with a subordinate wasn't exactly ethical, but by the looks of it, both of them put in the effort to make it work, despite the difficulties their work relationship entailed. Eventually, the pair left that job in order to be together, without breaking any work-related guidelines. Raising a family while not having a stable job isn't an easy task, but somehow Jarrod and Brandi handled it well. In the early 2000s, the couple started a mortgage company, primarily managed by Jarrod, but unfortunately failed when the market plummeted not long afterwards. That being said, Jarrod and Brandi's children were welcomed into the world almost at the same time, as they tried to find new ways to financially sustain their family. Nonetheless, this was a blessing in disguise, given that while their mortgage business fell, Jarrod's aunt introduced him to the world of antiques, and from then on, it was easy for the couple to know what they wanted to do. With a couple of years, the pair established the Now and Then thrift store, which sells secondhand, rarely seen articles to collectors in Orange County, California. Jarrod and Brandi's debut on TV came quite unexpectedly. It all started when a producer approached Jarrod during an auction at Seattle, and briefly told him about the idea for a new show. However, over 8 months passed until Jarrod was again contacted by the producer, asking him to film a pilot episode in his store. Having convinced Jarrod, the producer visited the shop and immediately became intrigued by Brandi. They asked me, "Who's the girl up front? Would she mind being on TV?" As Jarrod recalled in an interview with Orange County Register, the producer's sixth sense didn't fail when casting Brandi in the show, as the so-called Young Guns admittedly became one of the most famous couples in Storage Wars. As well, the show certainly changed the now former couple's life in many ways, affirming that sometimes the fame was unbearable. It's a blessing and a curse. Sometimes you just want to go to the store and pick up some milk, as Brandi stated. While nowadays both Brandi and Jarrod are used to their popularity, they didn't have big expectations about the show when it premiered. I told Brandi back then, even if nothing happens, even if the show ran for only 1 season, at least we'd be able to get free advertising for the store, he said. Jarrod and Brandi's children were born in the early 2000s and are now young adults, but their parents have kept them away from the spotlight for good reasons. According to a Brandi's post on Instagram, she started limiting what she shared about her children due to some disturbing messages she received years ago. In 2021, Brandi opened up for the first time about her kids' struggles in an interview with the Dad Diary online show, to whom she revealed that her daughter Peyton was born with a cleft palate and partially deaf, which made her quite shy for a long time. However, trying for the cheerleading team completely changed the girl's attitude. She became more confident, and you could actually start to hear her voice, she happily affirmed. Brandy also revealed that her son Cameron has suffered for some time from a kidney mass condition, which took him away from school for several months. Fortunately, Cameron overcame his health struggles. But becoming young adults isn't the end of the worries for both parents. As Jarrod said in 2016, he was supportive of his kids' future chosen careers, but wasn't interested in hiring them in the shop. I said, "No way. You won't even have your first job there. You need to make your own path. Don't follow in my footsteps," he said at Entertainment Inquirer. Unfortunately, Jarrod Schulz's lack of online activity makes it hard to know what projects he's working on nowadays. For one side, his business Rush Barn Grill hasn't updated its social media account since late 2021, and his online shop, Outlaw Apparel, has been inactive for quite some time. Following this trend of inactivity, the Now and Then thrift store Facebook page hasn't shared any posts since 2020, leaving many open questions about whether Brandy and Jarrod are working together in it or have completely separated ways, even in the professional sense, after their split. Despite the lack of current information, considering he's always been a businessman through and through, it wouldn't be far-fetched to assume that Jarrod might be managing his business on the quiet, as the possible scandal regarding his criminal charges abates. Though this is only a theory for now. It's almost certain that at some point in the near future, Jarrod might return to public life and finally answer some of his fans' most important questions about his actions. However, until that time comes, there are fortunately enough Storage War reruns from old seasons, which reminds us of a time when things weren't as complicated for Jarrod and his loved ones.
Thank you for spending some time with us. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpick these videos, which we recommend you watch next. You can talk to us on all social medias or ask a question in the comments below. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you back tomorrow.